now that we have looked at the audience, now we said, okay, let's just give them a little about Postgres, tell them about Postgres and what Postgres can do, right? How many of you have installed Postgres on your laptops or any of your servers? Holy moly, they're like, okay, I can count the hands. Okay, none of you all are supposed to be hanging up you are hanging up your boots at this point of time. You are that veterans, I would say. Right, so I mean very quickly, setting up the base here. Postgres has been now in the ecosystem, has been handling databases since you guys have been wearing your diapers, I would say, right? It has got a very, very huge history, and since 35 years the development has been doing, right? What would you see in a database? If you are choosing a database for your product, for your MVP, or some of your startups that you are doing, or anything that you pick up, right? What are some of the important features you would look at in your database platform, right? Provided you guys can go to a cloud, you guys can go to a simple open source system or a commercial system. All of you are aware of Oracle databases, I believe, right? A gentleman here says that I've been taught MySQL in my college, right? What are some of the features you would see in your database platform? Trust me guys, I made this PPT in the last 20-25 minutes when Vikas was talking. So help me out, right? Catch the end of the rope. I'm ready to catch the other end of the rope for you guys, right? What are some of the features you would see in your databases? If you are choosing a database for your software engineering, for your product development, whatever it is, right? These 4 features are something that you would look at. Probably performance is something that you would look at, right? In this room itself, right, we would have generated almost say 70 plus 70 into 5 or 6 WhatsApp messages, right, saying that yeah, the session is too techy, I don't understand any jack about it, right? There's some gentleman by name Vikas who's like ranting about Postgres, talking about explainer. These are the WhatsApp messages, right? So 70 into 5 in the first 5 minutes, right? In the next 5 minutes, I said, okay, I'm sleepy, right? You are texting your mom and dad, your girlfriend or boyfriend, saying that, right? I'm done, right? I'm just waiting for the snacks break. So see the amount of data that we are generating at this point of time, right? So for that amount of humongous data sets that we are seeing, you would need the performance as one of your first pivots, right? When you choose a database, you would want to look at performance, right? So now that you are on WhatsApp, now that you are on Instagram, right? You would want to say, Acha, I am actually sending a broadcast list and then sending a message to 10 people. Now I would like to send this message to all the people in my college that hey, I came down to a summit or a meetup, a database meetup. Not that great, right? You guys aren't missing anything at this point of time, right? Now you are talking about scalability of your system, right? So you are here 70 people, but now you would like to broadcast it to 70,000 folks, right? 7 lakh people, 70 lakh people, right? Now you would look at scalability of the system, whether the system is scalable, the amount of transactions you are doing are scalable or not, right? The third piece is extensibility of a database, right? What is an extensibility of a database? You have got a core system in place, a core engine in place, and what is it that you can extend on top of that core engine? What are some of the features that you will be able to add on that core engine, right? That's the extensibility that I am talking about. Postgres is very, very, very famous for its extension network, right? So Postgres has got a core engine, and then you can have tons and tons of extensions that could be installed on top of them. And the last piece is purely community driven, right? So the folks that you have seen, the folks that you have interacted, right? Some of the guys who are part and parcel of AWS, that were kind enough to let us know into this campus, right? That's because it is a community-driven database, right? I have been using Postgres for the past 2 decades, right? Some of my colleagues are here, right? So these guys have been using this for 20 years. The reason? So this is a pure community driven, right? None of the companies like Oracle's or Microsoft's or some of the big wigs that are there will not have any control over what database, what is the roadmap of this database and stuff, right? This is purely community driven, which means you want to say, you want to introduce some features to Postgres and say, hey, this is the feature that I now bumped into. This feature is not available in Postgres. I would like to go ahead and introduce it to the system, right? Very much possible, right? None of you will stop, right? As long as you have the use case, as long as you have a solid use case to prove that, hey, this is the feature that we would like to add, this is the feature that we would like to do or have as part and parcel of the database, you will be able to go ahead and add it, right? The source code itself, the entire database source code itself is purely community driven, right? 100% redistributable, right? No restrictions at all, which means you can pick up the source code, right? What's your good name? Shahid, right? Shahid can pick up the Postgres source code and say Shahid DB, right? Very simple, right? So what is the gravity or what is the importance of that, right? What is the importance of the source code being super non-restrictive, right? Absolutely no restrictions in any licensing, right? Software is licensing, right? There is SaaS, there is PaaS, there is IaaS, there is tons and tons of software distribution models, licensing, Apache license, GDPR, GCPL, AGPL. Heck, yeah, right? This is like getting out of our hands, right? What is the best licensing model? Keep everything open, right? Which is BSD license, the Berkeley Software Distribution, which says 0 restrictions on any of the database software that you are using. Okay, this is what I was talking about. And so when I said actively developed for more than 25 years, I think you still are in your diapers, I would say, right? When I say 25 years, most of you, right? And any other open source software that you have heard about in your college, in your engineering studies? Anybody who worked on Linux? Okay, Linux is an open source software? Yeah. It is, right? So all of you are all not using Linux. All of you are all Windows? Get out of that. Right? When somebody said, I am using MySQL, that is another open source software, right? So with conjunction to all the open source software that is available, right? Ubuntu's, right? The CentOS operating systems, which is no more available, right? You have got Rocky Linux, you have got operating systems that are called as FreeBSD, no BSDs and stuff, right? What are these guys doing? This is a fully matured software that is available for you to download and work on top of it and do whatever you want to do, right? Somebody who wants to work on kernel engineering will pick up NoBSD or FreeBSD and stuff, right? Okay, so the one important point is the ANSI and ISO compliant SQL support, right? There are tons and tons and tons of databases that are available, right? MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, Cassandra, CouchDB, oh boy, right? And in all of these, what is the common factor, right? There should be some governing body and says, hey, these are the 130 principles that are there as part and parcel of the SQL support. You got to adhere to these 130 principles, right? Then I will say that your database is an ANSI SQL compliant or a SQL standard compliant, right? So PostgreSQL has been ANSI SQL compliant for a very long time. Lokesh, you are able to see some of the logos from there, right? So this is the actual set of companies who are using Postgres, who are developing Postgres, and then who are contributing back to the community and say, hey, these are all some of the use cases that are available. in the current software ecosystem, right? So somebody says, I want an OLAP system. What is an OLAP system? Online analytic, right? Big data systems, or data warehouses, lake houses and stuff, right? Somebody who says AI, ML and RAG, right? Are there any database features available in Postgres, right, where you can go ahead and pick up some of them, right? There are a bunch of tools that are available in Postgres, right? Somebody who says, I am a core Java programmer, or I am a core Python programmer, I do not want to learn any other programming language, right? So you have got the language compilers, right? There is a huge line of language compilers that you can write your source code, and PostgreSQL will help you in compiling them and making sure your applications and databases are talking to each other, right? The other piece is from a full text standpoint, right? So how many of you have used Uber to come down here? Quite a few, I would say. Uber or Rapido or some of these apps that are there, right? What is it that you guys do with respect to Uber, right? This is the full text search capabilities that some of these apps are using, right? I am here, I got to go to the Amazon office, right? What are the drivers that are around, right? So it is using some of the search capabilities that are there in place, right? How many of you use PhonePe, Google Pay, right? You guys are all using Postgres now, right? It's as simple as that and as powerful as that, right? And I don't want to go through the entire ecosystem that is there in place, but PostgreSQL is very, very, very prevalent in the market at this point, right? And you are learning Postgres, you've got jobs, you've got ideas to set up your own companies, and these are the companies that are behind PostgreSQL ecosystem, right? So these are the companies that contribute back, that use the Postgres, that use the Postgres source code. How many of you have heard about these folks? Supabase and Neon? Right, Supabase because it's very easy to go ahead and stand up a Postgres database. Neon because it got acquired by Databricks for $1 billion, right? Now a small Postgres company with 72 folks, right, built something really amazing in the market, right? And then they sold it to Databricks for $1 billion. That is Postgres, folks. That is Postgres that we are talking about. Right. How many of you have seen the SQL? Everybody knows SQL, I guess, right? Do I take it as an universal yes? Yes. Awesome. Right. So this is something that I keep showing it to my students, saying, if you know this, right, a large part of the database is something that you have already learned, right? There are quite a few things that you will have to add into all of the other pieces, and then your database is up and running, right? And you are able to understand some of the nuances of these, right? You become a database developer, right? You know how to manage some of these operations, you become a database administrator, right? You are able to set up some of this, you become a DevOps engineer, right? It's that simple, folks. And this is the very, very basic or a foundational architecture of a Postgres database, right? Shayad, we will be sending across all of the slides. You will be able to download from the PG Hyde website whenever you can. Vikas did talk about some of the nuances with respect to slightly advanced concepts, right? They may or may not have been registered at the back of your minds, but take a look at this architecture, and at the left top, right, what do you guys see? They've got some applications that are talking to the databases, right? Now they are trying to interact something to the database layer or the data layer in place, right? So they are sending across the connections, right? Very, very simple, right? We send a database connection, and then WhatsApp is responding. It's as simple as that, right? And then you have got something called as backend connections, right? Backend database connections that are there in place. What are they? So you are simply establishing your communication network, right? The bus between your application and the data layer in place, right? I won't explain you what is the exact building block inside the Postgres database, right? It takes almost 3 to 4 hours for people to understand the entire architecture. But you look at what is exactly happening. So the connections are coming, the backend is getting established, and it is going into the Postgres internals ecosystem and then trying to find what are some of the next steps that I should do, right? If I am sending across an insert, I should be looking at creating a transactional data for my insert block, keep a copy of that insert somewhere in the memory, and once I commit the data, I go ahead and write it to your disk. As simple as that, right? Nothing fancy, nothing rocket science here. Does it make sense? Right? Any questions that now comes to you after the last few slides that we have seen? Does it establish a baseline of what Postgres is, why Postgres is such prominent in the industry, and what is the gravity of Postgres at a point of time? Does it help? Any questions about Postgres? I've got 2 questions. If you do not have any questions, I'll pick up somebody who's like about to sleep. All right, my friend here.
Not about to sleep, actually.
No, I'm not talking to you, right? Somebody behind you. What is a database for you?
A collection.
You want to answer for her? Absolutely fine. Yeah, please go ahead. What is a database for you?
Place where we could actually store data, retrieve data, or any kind of updations, or any sort of operations we perform on data. Actually, I had a doubt which I wanted to ask, like, why does it become so famous? Is it because it's scalable? If yes, how is it so scalable? Like Postgres.
Mm-hmm. So why did Postgres become famous?
Yeah.
We will come to that. It's already famous. So questioning the famous of it, we'll come to that. Another question, right? So if there is an idea in place, right? If there is a data product that you are building amongst your college or some startup group, right? Would you start with the idea? Let's assume that you have got the idea in place, right? What is the next important thing that you would try to sort out in the whole application lifecycle? Tech stack, within the tech stack, tech stack is the highest point that we can. In the tech stack, what is the most important thing that you would want to nail down even before doing all your design work, or where the data goes, what is the data flow and stuff? What is the important piece that you would want to sort out first?
Database management. How the data is
How
managed.
simple it is, first thing.
Database management is something that you would choose, like Shadab says, and then you say how simple it is.
How data flows.
How data flows.
Yeah, the simple way, so that you can come.
Why do you think it is important for us to know how data flows?
Because when you try to interact with the data, you should understand how it actually is.
Okay. Anybody who wants to compliment or contradict my friend here? Any points that you would want to add to his version?
How fast the data flows.
How fast the data flows? Okay. Any other points that come to your mind? Sashi, you are saying something?
How cheap you can get it up and running fast.
Okay. So the computational power,
Yes.
right? The computational power that you invest for that one operation your application needs to do, right? So if you get to the bottom of it, how are you storing your data? How are you retrieving your data? How simple your computation is between your application, your user, and the end data, right? Once you figure this tripartite agreement between these 3 entities, I think you've got a decent design to start with, right? And after that, you will go about and say, hey, how do I design my entire schema per se, right? How do I go about looking at some of the pieces that are needed from an operating system standpoint, right? From a computing standpoint, I don't know how much of hardware should I be pumping in, right? Do I go to a cloud instance, or do I go to a commodity hardware and pick up my on-prem infra, right? So these are all some of the building blocks, I would say, that would fall in place. But what is the user experience that you would want to give for that product versus how is the human interaction and the systems interaction, and how is that data going to support you and support you from going from one place to another, right? One point to another, right? And then the third is the whole conundrum that is connecting all of these entities, right? Does that make sense? Right? Having these building blocks in place when you are designing a product, designing an app, designing something from ground up, right? Does that make sense, folks? Alright, so now that we have established what is Postgres and what Postgres can do, right? We will take a quick break of 15 minutes and come back here and hear from Abbas and Ruby what are the new features that Postgres is popular for, what are some of the new features that got introduced in Postgres, right? Sounds okay? Cool.